Hey guys, it's Logan again. Welcome back to part 2 of our Spelunky level generation tutorial. Okay, in this video we're gonna go over creating our main path, and like I said, this is the traversal through our two-dimensional array, setting some values that are pretty essential. It's probably the core key concept of having this level generator work well. So before we get started, I actually want to change a couple variable names. For example, I put X rooms up here, and that isn't consistent with naming the section. So I refer to a room as a section here, and I refer to a room as a room here, when in reality it's not a complete room, it's just a section that builds our complete room. So we're going to change our X rooms to X sections. And this will make it more consistent, and hopefully if you had any confusion, this helps kind of clear it up. And I'm going to change X rooms down here to sections, and then sections. So I changed these two that are in the room width and height, and then also our for loop, sections, Y sections, and X sections. And I also am going to change the array name to sections. So this just makes all the naming consistent. We have section width, which is the total width of a section in pixels. We have the amount of sections that we have, which are going to be 4 by 4. So we have 4 across, 4 down, so 16 total. Then we have our sections array, which correspond to all these. So hopefully that clears up a couple things. So next we're going to be creating our main path, and we're just going to call a script here, and we're just going to name it create main path with parentheses. And we're going to put all that code in a new script. So let's create a new script and call it create main path. And I have it maximized up here. You should be able to follow along with the previous versions of Gamemaker. I believe all the code will still work the same. So I'm not going to be using a lot of Gamemaker Studio 2 specific stuff. All right, so we have our create main path script. All right, so I am, instead of just copying and pasting code I've done previously, I'm actually going to rework this with my brain. So I'm going to come across mistakes, but I want you to see the process that I go through when I'm writing a program like this, so that you don't just see me copy and pasting code. You actually see, oh, what's the issue I'm having now? Oh, that's how you fix it. So you kind of see the process that we go through. Okay, so let's write down a couple things. What's the first thing we need to do at the beginning of our main path creation? Well, if you remember from the previous video, it is selecting our starting room, which remember is going to be on the top row, and it's going to be a random column in that row. Okay, so let's go ahead and comment this in as a select starting room. Okay, and how do we do this? Well, remember we have a current X and a current Y. So I have a current X, which is going to be our current X position in our grid. I guess I'll bring this up real quick. So our current X might be right here, 2. And then we have our current Y, which is our Y position in this grid. Okay, so let's do our current Y first. Our current Y we set to 0, because remember, we're starting on the top. So if we look at this, we're starting at the top. And then our current X can be any of those positions, okay? And I will say, though I'm making most of this flexible, so you could go into your initialized room and change these values and everything would change automatically, I'm gonna be using the choose function here. If you wanted it to choose, if you went up to, let's say, 5 on X sections, right? You would have to add the 5 into this choose variable also, so it wouldn't happen automatically. Or you can use a round random function. So look up how to use random, and then you round the random, because the random will give you a decimal number a lot of times, and then you round it and that gives you the integer value. So you can use that as well, but we're going to use choose because it's pretty simple to understand. So we're going to use choose, and we're going to choose between 0, 1, 2, and 3. And that is going to choose a random value from 0, 1, 2, and 3. It's going to choose one of these randomly, and it's going to store that value in current X. All right, so now we have our starting position in our room. It's that easy. So let's initialize a couple of variables. First, let's do var. What var does is when the script is done executing, it's going to erase these values from memory. So it's going to free up some memory space when we don't need it anymore. So that's why we're using var here. We could actually probably do it on current x and y too, but I haven't tested it. Sometimes when you go out of the script to go into a new script, these vars can't transfer with it. So you have to be careful. New direction equals 0. And new direction is going to be saying we're going to pick a new direction. That's the basis of this. So if we were to, we set the value here, and then we want to choose a new direction randomly, either left, right, or down, and we set a new direction corresponding. So a new direction could be 1 to go left, or 2 to go right, or 3 to go down. So we're going to start with 0. Well, we're just initializing the variable. And then let's do, we already have current x. Let's do var for current x, because I actually had that before, and we could use the same for current y. And then I know I'm saying I'm not going to copy and paste this, but I want to make sure I'm starting right. Okay, so we have our starting point. I'm going to label this initialize as starting x, and then I'm going to comment this initialize as starting y. Okay, and keep track of what direction to move. Okay, alrighty, so now we need to make a loop. So we need some kind of loop that is going to repeat this process until something exits out of the loop. And we don't know the exact amount of loops that we're going to need to complete this process, because it can be different every time. So how do we exit out of a loop? We can use a while loop. So we'll say while something is true, we're going to keep selecting a new room and keep moving and keep repeating this process until what? Well, we could say until our y value becomes greater than 3. Because if y value is greater than 3, then we don't want to place a room anymore, because we're now out of bounds for our room. So here's how we would write the while loop. We'll use while current y, which is our current y, is less than 4. So if current y becomes 4, 3 is the max we can have. If it becomes 4, it's not going to execute any code in here. And it's starting out at 0, so it's always going to start in this while loop. So it's going to keep doing this loop until current y becomes 4. And then we're going to move on with the rest of our code after this code block. Okay, so what's the first thing that we need to do? Well, so what we need to do is first choose a new direction. And we can do that with new direction equals, let's say choose, because we can choose between 3 directions, remember? We can choose between 1, 2, and 3. 1 is going to be left, 2 is going to be right, and 3 is going to be down. But remember, we want a greater chance to move left or right. So what we can do is just place another 1 in here and another 2 in here. And this gives us a better chance to get one of our left or right values, okay? Okay, so now we have our new direction. Remember, this is going to happen at the beginning of each loop. And now we need to do some actions based on what our direction is. So first, let's do if our new direction is left equals 1. So this is going to move us left. I'm going to comment this. Move us left if direction equals 1. Okay. Alrighty. So we have, let's say our new direction equals 1. Let's just write the code at what would happen. So let's take a look at what would happen. So we already have our room right here, correct? And we need to set a value for our room actually before we move on with this. So we have our starting room. Let's, before our loop starts, we need to set that room to be one of those values, either 1, 2, or 3, remember? And we're gonna go ahead and just by default set it to 1. So we're gonna do sections, and then we have our current x and our current y, and let's just set it to 1. And 1 gives us an exit on the left and the right, remember? But if we're gonna move down after this, don't worry, because every time we move down, we're gonna set our current room to 2. So it would reset this room before it moved us down. But by default, we can just start with a room type of 1, which is going to be, I'm gonna go ahead and comment this in, start with room type of exit left and right. Okay, awesome. So we have our starting section. So our algorithm finds a starting point and makes it type 1. Okay, so now we find a new direction to move, and our new direction is equal to 1. So all we're going to do is do sections, and I'll show you why I use plus plus or minus minus. I'm going to use minus minus current x, and we can use this in line. We don't have to do current x minus equal 1 up here. We can do minus minus current x, and this will decrease x, and then it will check the value of x for this position. So, and then current y equals 1. And this is, I believe you can set like 2 along the path 2, but I wasn't getting the results that I wanted with that solution. So if we move left, I'm just setting that room to 1. And the only time we're going to change it to like a 2 or a 3 is if we're moving down or we've fallen. So by default, if we're still moving horizontally, I'm just going to set the room to 1. All right, yeah, let's stick with just this for now and we'll see what happens. Okay, so now let's say our new direction is not equal to 1. Well, we do else if new direction equals 2. Then we will move right? Move right? And then we can just put move us right if direction equals 2. And then we'll do another else if. I'm just going to go ahead and paste the else if because we can move down at this point, right? So new direction equals 3, we'll move down. Okay, so one other thing that we need to check before we actually decrease our x, remember, what if we're at this position? We can't decrease our x again, or we'll go out of bounds in our array. We'll go to a -1, which doesn't exist in the array index. So it'll give us an out of bounds error. So what we do is we need to check if our current x, before this, if current x, let's say is greater than 0, it gives us a wider coverage, okay? If current x is not, or is greater than 0, then we can decrease this. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it in a block, the squiggles. If current x is greater than 0, then we'll decrease our index and set that room to, or our current room to 1. Okay, then we're gonna use else. So let's say that it is the case that we're here. Well, we just need to move down instead. So we just do sections. We actually need to check if we aren't at the bottom. So let's say we're at this point and we try to move left and then we try to move down. Well, now we need to place an exit. So we actually need to make a check for this. So we need to do if current y is greater or is less than 4. No, it has to be 3. Is less than 3, then we'll increase y. Then we will do sections dot, or not dot, sections current x current y equals 2. And we're setting our current room we're in before we have changed the value of our index. So this is actually, we got to this room and we set a value for it. So the value of this room is probably, let's go. So the value of this room is 1. And now we tried to move left again. Well, we can't. So we're going to move down. But to be able to get to this position, this room needs to not be a 1. It needs to have something that we can fall through the floor. So we change this value to something we can fall through the floor, which in this case would be a 2. And then we go to this and then we change this value. So, or we set this value to 3. It has to be 3 because it has to have a hole in the top of the roof. Sorry, this does get confusing. Just try to stay along with me. Okay, so we have current x is greater than 0, then we can move left. Else, we can't move left anymore. I'm going to go ahead and comment that. Can't move left. Need to move down. Need to change current room to a 2 and next room to a 3. Maybe that summarizes it a bit better than I was able to. Okay, so we set our current room to 2, and now we just need to set our room below us to current x to a 3. Current y, and we're going to do plus plus because we're going to increase this index by 1. And we're going to set that equal to 3, okay? Awesome. And now we also need to make a new direction, okay? And to get the results that I wanted, I set the room direction to equal 3, or 2, which is going to be to our right. The reason I'm doing this is I was getting a lot of maps that were created straight down, and it was kind of not giving me the effect I wanted. I wanted more of a slalom effect, and you can change this however you want. You can edit it after you fully understand how all this works. So what I do is, let's say I try to go left right here from this position. Can't, so we go down, and instead of having the option to select the one below it next, I just automatically set it to the direction being right, okay? So now it's going to go down, and that's going to go to the right at least one before it can go down again, all right? So you see I set my new direction here, but, well, wait. When the loop resets, it's going to reset my new direction. So how I get around this is I do if new direction equals 0. And then we will set our new direction. So then we'll have all the options to choose from. And when the loop first starts, new direction is already set to 0, so it's going to pick a completely random direction. Now, I want it to set a new direction in this case, the case that we moved left successfully. I want it to be able to select from all of these choices. So all I do is set my new direction to 0. Right under if current x is greater than 0, then I move my section, and then I reset my new direction so that this gets called at the beginning of the next loop. And in this case, this would not be called at the beginning of my next loop. It would just come down to this case because our new direction is 0, so we're going to start moving right. So what happened was we were moving left. We tried to move left, didn't make it, so we moved down and we set our direction to right. So the next time we're going to move right to this area. That's guaranteed. Instead of being able to move down, down, or down, right. Which, if that's the effect you want, if you want to be able to go vertical a lot, then you would just not do this part, delete that, and then delete this up here. And you would have that second effect where your new direction would be randomly chosen every time. Okay, so now we have if our current y is less than 3, but what if we're at the bottom of our map already? Well, in that case, we're just going to do plus plus current y. And remember, now our current y is 3, and instead of messing with the rooms at this point, if we try to go down, we're just going to increase our y one more time, which is going to put our current y to 4, which is going to exit us out of this loop. Okay? So I'm sorry if that's confusing. I'll just say exit out of loop. That's what this does. All right, so now we need to do the exact same thing just about for our right direction, but everything reversed. So we can actually copy paste all this code from this code block to this code block. I'm going to copy, and I pasted down. So now we have if new direction is 2, but we need to flip a couple things. Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to copy paste that. Remember, I copy and pasted all of this, and then I'm going to copy, and I pasted it down here between the new direction equals 2. Remember, this is moving us right. Okay, so I pasted it. But now we're moving right, so we need to change some values. So let's imagine we're here and we want to move right. We'd go down and set our new direction to left. Or if we're right here, we just move right and then we bring a random direction. So what do? Well, we just changed if current x is greater than, or let's see, what I do here? If current x is greater than 0. Yeah, I thought I had that wrong for some reason. So we do if current x is less than 3, then we can move right still. If it's not less than 3, then it would push us over the edge and we need to move down. So, and then remember we're moving right, so we're increasing our current x. And we're setting it to 1 as the room type. I'm gonna go ahead and comment this and set room type to empty, entrance left and entrance right. Okay. And now our new direction we set to 0, so when it comes back up, it can choose a brand new random direction between 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now we are going to do the same thing. If we need to move down, we're going to check to make sure we're less than 3, and if not, then we're going to set our current room to a 2 and our next room, our current room or our room below us to a 3, which gives us the hole in the top. And we set our new direction to left, which is 1. We can honestly use constants for this, which might actually, might do that later on. We probably should have did that before. We can set constants to equal 1, 2, and 3, and we could actually use the word left, right, or down. That would make more sense to us, right? Okay, and in the case that we are at 3, then we're going to increase our current y. It's going to exit us out of the loop, and we can set that position to our exit door, which we'll do later on. Okay, so let's say we want to move down. Well, all we have to do to move down is check below us like we've done previously with these, if current y is less than 3. So we're just going to do if current y is less than 3, then we'll move down. We'll set our current room to 2, just like this. So I'm actually going to copy paste this code. It's the exact same. I copy and pasted right here. It's the exact same code for if we're moving down, okay? And then we can give a new direction to 0 so we can get a completely random direction. So new direction equals 0. The next time it loops, we'll get a completely random direction, okay? And then I added something else in here. I'm trying to remember what it does real quick. I'm going to go ahead and type it out, and then I'm going to remember what it does. Equals x, we use x sections minus 1. Oh, okay, so what I did is reset the direction, and then, once again, this is just a preference. You don't have to add this in. Since I'm moving down, let's say I move down here, I want to see if I'm at x equals 3 on my current x. And if so, then I don't want the option to move right, okay? Because if I were to try to move right, that doubles my chances of going down. So I move down, and if I want to try to go right, then it's going to push me down again, or it will randomly select down. So that gives me twice the possibility to move down, and I didn't want that. I wanted more of the slalom look. So we have to go kind of horizontally and vertically, not just vertically quite a bit. So what I did is I check if I am at current x equals 3, which is basically x sections minus 1. Remember, x sections, if we go back, is set to 4. So this is basically 3. We could actually replace all of these with x sections minus 1, which would be more beneficial, but I wanted you guys to kind of understand the numbers a bit better. Okay. So then we just set a new direction. Remember, we are overriding this if this is the case. So our new direction will no longer be 0, and we will choose either 1, 1, or 3. So we'll have a 33% chance to move down at this point, and then a 66% chance to move left. Or if we are at the left side of the map, I'll do else if current x equals 0. Remember, this is at the very left side of the map. If we're here and we move down, then I want to either move right or go down again. I don't want to try to move left, because again, that doubles my chance to move down. So I set new direction equals choose 2, 2, and 3. I'm giving myself a 66% chance to move right and a 33% chance to once again move down. Okay? And then let's say our current y, else if our current y is not less than 3, if it is 3, then we just say current plus current y. And that will exit us out of the loop, because that means we are at the end once again. Because remember, that is how we end our level, is when we get to this base point and we try to move down, our algorithm tries to move down again. It says, oh, that's the exit. That's how we decide our exit point. Okay? And let's go through this code one more time. Let's read through it and we'll kind of see what it does. So we have, we set our current x and current y, which is keeping track of where we're at inside of our array. We set our current section to equal 1, our section type to equal 1, right? And then we set up a while loop, so as long as our current y is less than 4, we're going to execute the code in here. We say if our new direction equals 0, which is our kind of reset button, Then we will choose a random new direction between left, right, and down. I'm going to set 1 equals left, 2 equals right, 3 equals down. Okay? And then we ask, is our new direction 1? Well, yes, that means we're moving left. Then we check if we are not at our left edge of our screen or our room. And if not, then we can move left. And we set our new room that we moved left into to a type set room to type with exit on left and right side. And this is a guarantee that there's an exit on the left and right side when our room type is 1. And we set our new direction to equal 0 for a reset. So a completely random direction gets chosen again. And in the case that we aren't on the left edge of our room, then this gets executed. And if we are on the left edge of our room, then our current y is less than 3, which means we're not at the bottom left corner, basically, in this case. Then we can move down. And we set our current room to 2 to give us a hole in the floor. 2 type 2 guarantees that there is an exit in floor. Okay? And type 3 guarantees that there is an exit or an entrance in ceiling, in the ceiling of the section. So we set our current room to 2 to give us a drop that we can go downward in. And then we give ourselves a, then we set our new room that we dropped into to a 3 to give us an entrance at the top to drop through, okay? And we set our new direction to 2, so we want to move right. So we were going left, we got forced down because we tried to go left again from the edge, and now I want to slalom back to the right. So our new direction's set to 2, and then we move down and do the exact same thing, but going right. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this system out and see what happens. So we can't run the game yet, we can't do anything. Let's go back to our initialize room, and after our create main path, let's type in a debug code, some debug code. So all we're going to do is run through our array and print out the values, okay? So we're gonna do for, let's say y, let's do this y again, equals 0, underscore y is less than y sections, and we'll do underscore y plus plus, okay? And we'll just do show debug message, and we're gonna print out, so for each y value, we're gonna print out 1, 2, 3, 4 x values. We're just gonna see what the values are in there, okay? So we do show debug message, we do a string to convert our integer or float value into a string that can be printed out to us so we could view it. And we do room or sections, because we're grabbing a value from our array. We're gonna do our 0 value and our underscore y, okay? And oops, underscore y, you gotta make sure you get the parentheses right on this. Then we're gonna add a space. Actually, we don't even need a space. Let's try it without a space. Let's do plus, and then I'm gonna copy paste this entire string part and change our x to a 1, copy and paste, or I'm just gonna paste again, paste one more time, delete the plus sign. Sorry if this is kind of hard to read. I'll try to force it over. So you have the exact same notation, except I'm changing the x value in our two-dimensional array to 0, 1, 2, 3, okay? And show debug message is gonna print out in our console down here, and we need to go to our room. I'll give you a second to pause this, to type this out if you need. Show debug message, in parentheses, a big string, okay? Under a for loop. All right, so I'm gonna go to my room, and I'm going to drag my object in so it's working. Then we're gonna hit play. So I just put my object in the room, that's all. All right, so you can see down here, we actually have a 4x4 traversal in our room. You can see where it starts. This top left side, we go over 1, then we go to the 2, then we go down to the 2, so we have 2 2s in a row, and then we have another drop, so we have 3 vertical drops, then we move over to the left, then we drop again, we move 1 to the right. And if we rerun this program, if I hit stop and play, it will be completely new and different. So we have 1, 2, then we drop to a 3, then we have 2, that is actually a drop room, which we do have an issue here. What's the issue in our code here? 1, 2, 3. You see how we have a 2, but then we have a 1 here? That's kind of a random 1 that got placed. Not sure why that 1 got placed. I'm gonna run it again. So we do have a small bug in our code for our room creation. So now we have 2. So we go down, then we go over a lot, and that doesn't make sense. 2, 1, 1, 1. We don't want that. Okay, so let's examine our code. Let me shrink all this. I'm going to stop the program and examine exactly what's going on. So, okay, so change how this new direction is, or left or right. We kind of want to change how this new direction is set. So if we're moving left, I actually want to keep moving left until we need to go down. I don't want to move back right again, because if we're moving left, before we resetting, so we could move left and then move back to the right once more and move to the right again. So we're erasing those spots we just had. So if we're moving left already, we're going to keep moving left until we want to go down. So what we're going to do is just choose between 1, 1, and I use 3 1s here to give me a good chance to keep moving the same direction instead of going down. It kind of gave me rooms that were a bit better. And so we're choosing between keep going left or moving down, and we're giving a greater chance to keep moving left than we are going down. So basically what was happening was we were jumping to this room, and then our complete randomization was saying, oh, let's move back right again, and then go down. So these were getting set, and then we were moving back and then moving down, so we were getting weird values for some of our rooms. So what we're doing is capping our direction, that it can only be left until it moves down, or it gets to the edge and then it's forced to move down. So we'll do the same thing for our right direction. So instead of saying new direction equals 0, which again is going to give us a complete new direction, we're going to set our new direction to be choose between 2, 2, 2, and 3, which 3 is down, remember. Now if we run the program, it should work just fine. So we have 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Then we get to the bottom, and that's our exit room. I'm going to run it again. Make sure we don't have any unwanted errors. So we're getting 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. And actually that level generator on the website, if you were to run these side by side right now, you could almost get exact levels. I generate a random one from the website, and then I generate one from my room, and within 2 or 3 tries, there were really similar traversals of the map. So we know that the algorithm is working pretty close to that generator at least. So we have 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. So this is kind of a weird zigzag type thing. And then let's run it one more time. And let's run through this. We get a random spot starting position on the top row. Then we get a random direction to move, which in this case was down. And then we get a random direction. Actually, after we move down, we don't have a great chance to move down again. So we get a direction to the right, and then we're going to keep moving right until we decide to move down. So we got to the right side, and probably what happened is we tried to move right again. And then instead, we couldn't move right anymore, so it took us down to the 3 position, and then we said, oh, we're going to start moving left now to make sure we do the slalom. And then it was like, okay, randomly it selected to move down, and then we moved down, and then it randomly selected to move right, and then it either tried to keep moving right or tried to move down again, and that is our exit room, or will be our exit room. So I hope this made some sense to you. The video, oh wow, it's quite long, but I hope you learned something, and I'm sorry it was a little choppy and kind of hard to understand, but if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and in the next video, we will start implementing our templates. We can start making our templates that we'll be using to build our room. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.